you are well known for the creation of PNC Park. And here's the thing about this idea of domain. Good work is reordering the particulars of a certain domain for the flourishing of everyone. And that kind of puts us all on the line, doesn't it? I read this about you from Jim Cable. He's an ESPN writer. And he says these words about PNC Park and about your work. The team and the city got the ballpark right. No, not just right, perfect. This is the perfect blend of location, history, design, comfort, and baseball. Good on you. That's Christian work. And then he goes on to say, it's as if the house that Ruth built had first been designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and then run past Ray Kinsella for final approval. So a question out of that, that's bringing flourishing. How do you understand architecture as a means of bringing human flourishing, and how did that inform the design of PNC Park?
Okay, well, it took me a while to get to a place in my life and my work where I saw the connection between what I do as an architect and the idea of, seeking the good of all people in the sense of human flourishing. But I really see that much more clearly now. It's funny, when I was in college, I had a pro practice class where one of our assignments was prepare your resume. Good thing to do in a pro practice class. And so at the top of my resume, I put objective: to improve the built environment through architectural design. And the department head taught the class, and he gave it back to me later, written at the top, this objective is too vague and ambitious for a recent college graduate. And the funny part about that is, every resume I've ever had has had that at the top, to improve the quality of the built environment through architectural design. So I guess, maybe implicitly I recognize that that's what architecture is about, is making the built environment better. And that sort of has built into it the notion of human flourishing.
And that's on a very, very big scale.
Yeah.
It's on a very, very big, it's 38,000 at a shot, right?
Oh, you mean at PNC Park?
At PNC Park.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it's one of the smaller major league ballparks, but definitely 38,000 people. That can be millions of people in a year.
It's intimate for a stadium.
That's right. So I'm told.
Right. So I think that some of us that's daunting. But it is a tremendous responsibility. As an architect, you're creating public spaces most of the time. And so if you get that wrong, that could really, it could harm people.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'd like to take a couple minutes and just walk through kind of where the design of PNC Park came from. This is the prepared part of the conversation. Hopefully I can push these buttons right. Oh, there we go. So this is where we started. We had this site on the North Shore. This is an aerial photograph circa 1998 when the design process got started. And our domain was basically that little chunk of land between Three Rivers Stadium on one side and the 6th Street Bridge on the other side. That's where we knew the ballpark was going to go. This is what it looked like from an office building on the other side of the river. And you can see there were several buildings there, some of which were actually pretty nice and kind of made me feel bad to tear them down, but that's what we had to do to put a ballpark there. But when you actually walked around the site, mostly what you saw was this. You saw an undifferentiated sea of asphalt and elevated roadways. And the way Three Rivers Stadium had been developed was like the worst kind of urban planning of, you plunk down this giant concrete donut, you surround it with asphalt, and then you build some elevated expressways to get people in and out. It was like exactly what not to do with a dense urban neighborhood like Pittsburgh's North Shore. But we did have, and this is a 1998 picture before the ballpark got there, a spectacular view into the city. And that was the best thing about the site and the thing we really wanted to capitalize on. So I spent a lot of time walking around Pittsburgh, trying to get to know the city, trying to understand its architecture and its building traditions. And one of the buildings that really jumped out at me was the Allegheny County Courthouse. And many other civic buildings I also noticed were built of stone rather than brick. Even the buildings on Federal Street, which is right across the street from the ballpark, had this kind of light-colored, in this case, terracotta exterior. So that was kind of some of the inspiration for the ballpark. Also, I spent a lot of time looking at old photographs of Forbes Field, which is where the Pirates used to play before they moved to Three Rivers, and which was described by people who had been there as a beloved place to watch a ball game. And so I was trying to figure out, well, what did Forbes Field get right that Three Rivers didn't get right? And one of the inspirations for the ballpark, oddly enough, is this bridge pier, which you see in the right-hand side of the picture, which captures, to me, the essence of Pittsburgh. It's this rugged stone pier, beautifully crafted, even though nobody ever sees it unless you're actually looking for it, with this beautiful steel, very elegant steel structure that rides on top of it. So this idea of this rugged stone thing carrying this elegant steel thing became one of the informing principles of the ballpark. So here we are, we've knocked all the buildings down, we're under construction, and this is PNC Park today with the 6th Street, now the Roberto Clemente Bridge in the foreground. And of course, as you all know, the Clemente Bridge is one way that a lot of people approach the ballpark on game day, which I just absolutely love, that it becomes a place for people and pedestrians. And then, you know, you've got this street party that happens on Federal Street on game days, which I think is completely cool. We spent a lot of time working on the urban design of the ballpark to reinforce the fact that there is an urban street grid. So Isabella Street, which is not a major street on the north side, but it terminates at this entry. So we kind of celebrate the way the streets end. And the spiral ramps at PNC Park are kind of special, especially this one on the left field side, where you can actually stand and watch the game, which is kind of a unique thing in Major League Baseball. And of course, the thing that people really love about PNC Park more than the architecture is the views, and that's what we really tried to capture and capitalize in the design of the ballpark. You may not realize it, but the ballpark starts out very tall on the General Robinson side of the site, and just steps down and steps down and steps down and steps down until by the time you get to the river, as you can see here, there's no ballpark at all. You're just looking out to the river and the view beyond, and that was all very intentional. So here we are, home plate entry, you know, facing into the new development area on the north side. The building at night when it's lit up for a game obviously is kind of special. And what I love about PNC Park is this kind of nondescript, this is not a kind of architect's marketing photograph, but what I love about this is it shows how the ballpark and its architecture begins to reinforce that urban street grid and reestablish that grid that was completely erased in 1970 when they built Three Rivers Stadium. We've kind of put the grid back, we've sort of put the city back, in a sense, in the north side, and now there's a hotel across the street and an office building across the street, and the north side is really starting to repopulate itself as a real city kind of urban area.
It's fantastic.